Hey there and welcome back to The Sims 3. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of this attempt to fully complete The Sims 3 World Adventures. Last time we left off after sending our young adventurer Sanat Huja to Al-Simhara, Egypt. As you can see, he collected a few valuables after getting himself caught up in a quest involving Morq Corp. After recovering some documents from the relatively easy Tomb of Discovery, Sanat's mother got involved and sent him into the maze-like Pyramid of Burning Sands. Avoiding fire traps, painful heat, and even a mummy, Sanat managed to harvest some flame fruits from within, but he will have to return to continue his mission. Today, meanwhile, it is Fabien Coudeyras' turn, who is just about to make the phone call to travel to his hometown of Champs-les-Sims, while last week's adventurer Sanat is going for an evening run. Now Fabien is still a teenager, and just like elder Sims, teenagers travel cheaper. The 3-day trip therefore only costing him 1,400 simoleons. Our family funds will thank him for that. Now, upon arriving in Champs-les-Sims, Fabien's first stop is of course the adventuring board, and I think we'll take this very first one here. Carla Ruiz is looking for a daring soul, and while this might not necessarily be Fabien, the promise of a daring reward is sure to intrigue him. And so he jumps onto his red scooter, albeit only for a few seconds, as Carla, who I've taken the liberty of naming after patron supporter Carlos Ruiz, is standing right down the street here. And there we go, no shady corporations involved this time. Carla simply seems to have misplaced something. This here is the Champs-les-Sims introductory quest, and it sends us to the Celtic ruins behind the Nectary. The Nectary, a place that we will hopefully also be able to spend a considerable amount of time in today. After a quick ride, Fabien then arrives at his destination, and as usual we're dealing with some underground exploration. First things first, let's collect a valuable titanium ingot worth over 1,000 simoleons, and then we'll clear the rock rubble, which is very clearly blocking our path onwards. The problem here, Fabien is not really what can be called athletic. A small investment into that skill will surely help his adventuring capabilities. No surprise then that Fabien is able to detect a hidden door, and doing so also fulfills his first wish of today's episode. The door opens automatically, saving us just a tiny bit of exploration time, while the next one is easily unlocked by jumping onto a pressure plate. In the room behind it, we then find another one just like it, alongside another pile of rocks and some ancient coins. Below the rocks, meanwhile, a money bag that we can sell later. The pressure plate then reveals a hole in the wall, most likely containing the switch for the door, and after grabbing the money bag, that is indeed confirmed to be the case. The next room then remains similar, 2 piles of rock rubble in this one, as well as another locked door, this one only to be opened with a keystone. That keystone can thankfully be found right below the second pile of rocks. The first one meanwhile contained another money bag. Keystone in hand, we also want to investigate the wall over here. That differently colored area on the floor already gives it away. We have found another hidden door. We will explore the area behind it as soon as we have placed the keystone and unlocked our way onwards. And what Fabien discovers is actually quite gruesome. A valuable gemstone once again worth over 1,000 simoleons, but also the skeletal remains of someone who came before. Well, I think it's best we quickly move on. The corridor with the statues here is another easy pressure plate puzzle, and the same goes for the room behind it. In this one floor switch activates a second, so we need to pull 2 statues. In between, let's also grab some more ancient coins and then work on finding our way onwards. Now, before Fabien steps onto the last floor switch here, he first of all unlocks a shortcut back to the starting area. However, we plan to fully explore this tomb in one go, so we will hopefully not need it. Our journey then keeps us going downstairs into a maze-like garden. The entire place definitely quite large for a starter tomb, although the remnants of a small campsite down here suggest that we are not the first visitors. Fabien then finds some dried food hidden in a hole in the ground, an almost worthless relic close by, and a note on the wall, once again telling us that a good explorer carries food and a tent with him at all times. Luckily, Fabien has both in his inventory, so let's begin exploring the maze. It is a good idea to start with what from this perspective is the lower left side. A relic of the Dangerous Creatures collection can be found here, as well as another heart-shaped keystone nearby. Going into a bit more of a top-down view then also reveals another gemstone, and from here it's only a quick walk to what is very clearly another hidden door. The room behind is definitely worth looting, another titanium ingot worth 1000 simoleons as well as 3 piles of ancient coins. Ironically, it seems like, despite being the least suited for the adventuring lifestyle, Fabien might just bring home the highest sum of valuables from this trip. Now, up next we explore the upper left side, at the end of which you can already see another door. First of all though, more ancient coins. Right nearby, another relic, this one worth 65 simoleons, so not that much. Then, past the door on the left, a fragment for constructing the pushable statue. I believe Sanat collected one last episode too. Either way, let us now place that keystone we found earlier and open the next door. Just a single treasure chest behind this one, but inside 2 ancient bottles of nectar, as well as yet another pushable statue fragment, and also another low-value French relic. Now, after a quick bite to eat, we can explore the rest of the maze. More ancient coins and another relic on the table here, followed by a money bag next to the door. The statue then takes a little while to be pushed onto the floor switch. As you can see, it opens the way onwards, but moving it has also opened up a little shortcut, allowing for quick access to another pressure plate. And just like that, another hidden door is revealed, behind it yet another rock pile. You can already see the chest hidden below. Inside, 2 more bottles of nectar, these ones over 2000 years old, alongside a vase that we can add to our collection. And with that, I think it's time. Let's go through that big door we just unlocked. Right, we have reached the end of the tomb, fulfilling Fabien's wish to fully explore it, and after grabbing another money bag, the quest item will be found inside another hole in the ground. Curiously then, it is a baseball. Apparently, one man's junk is another woman's treasure. And speaking of treasure, there is much more to be found inside this last chamber. One more hidden door, for example, gives way to a relic in the French tomb collection. A fragment for the plain sarcophagus can then be found in the corner over here, another ancient bottle of nectar prominently displayed in the middle of the room, some more ancient coins, a money bag, and with that we are done here. The exit leading back to the surface has another pile of ancient coins between some grass, with one last pile then presented near the exit. A floor switch opens one final hidden door, and in just a moment Fabien can return to Champs les Sims. Now, outside the tomb, night has already set. Nonetheless, Carla Ruiz is still awake in the general goods store. She has replaced general goods merchant Fabien Coudeyras, Fabien's mother, and no longer living in Champs les Sims. Now, no follow-up quest and also not really much of a payment. Carla just gives us a few more ancient coins and visa points, And with that, Fabien's first small quest in Shaun Les Sims is completed. Time for our teenage adventurer to go to sleep right here in the marketplace. After a quick breakfast and breaking up tent, Fabien returns to base camp on the next morning for a brief shower. Fresh and clean, his next stop is then obviously the adventure board. And this is the quest I had hoped for. Local nectar maker Corentin Laurent is asking for our help. In episode 3, William Picking already helped him construct a new nectar machine. Now Fabien needs to deliver some grapes. Well, nothing easier than that. A quick scooter ride gets Fabien over to the Nectary, where all the grapes are growing. And conveniently enough, this also fulfills his wish of visiting this location. The grapes we're after can be harvested 3 at a time from the vines growing outside. So, 4 grapevines later, Fabien has everything he needs in his inventory. Before delivering the grapes, I also spotted this interesting version of the garden gnome outside. This is the unique variant for Shaun Les Sims, but apart from looking differently, it behaves the same as the mysterious Mr. Gnome found in the base game. In any case, Fabien now enters the Nectary and speaks to Corentin, triggering the next stage of this quest.
Sasame bonita. Shibo. Nibagi.
This here is pretty much the introduction to nectar making, as we are now tasked with placing our 10 grapes into the nectar maker. We also earn enough visa points to unlock visa level 1, but for now let's head to the back and place our harvested grapes inside the machine. Each batch of nectar always requires 10 ingredients. They don't have to be of the same type though, and mixing and matching fruits is in fact a big part of making the best nectars in the game. Now that the fruit has been added, the fun part begins. Fabien needs to squish it, a full body commitment. Eventually then, the fruit has been properly squished and it's time to fire up the nectar maker machine itself, although that doesn't quite go as planned. Yes indeed, despite continuing to work on it and actually earning his first skill point in the nectar making skill, Fabien has unfortunately just broken the nectar maker, and in Shaun Les Sims there is sadly no repair service available, so Fabien will have to get on this himself. This somewhat unexpectedly also unlocks the first level in the handiness skill, as well as the wish to improve it further. Most importantly though, the nectar maker is repaired again, and so after a few hours it is finally running, and it will now take a further 2 hours until we can collect our nectar. Plenty of time for Fabien to also break the toilet, and no, this is not just an unlucky coincidence, it is in fact Fabien's unlucky trait, so investing into the handiness skill might be a sensible idea. That handiness skill is then in fact also already improved to level 2 just from unclogging the toilet. Let's spend the rest of the time reading the nectar making skill book. A higher skill will obviously also produce better quality nectar. Speaking of which, our very first batch here is finished. We're not going to give it a special name just yet. Chances are we will likely not repeat making this particular mixture. Before we collect it, we also want to advance Fabien to nectar making level 2, and now let's see what we have produced. Alright, 3 bottles of nectar, that is the standard output. They are of normal quality and not really worth much, so we will gladly be handing them over to turn in the quest. Right then, in the next stage of the quest, Corentin wants us to take our nectar making skills to the next level. He has given us 10 limes and now asks us to make some nice quality nectar. And well, like I said, Fabien's nectar making skill is in fact one of the key components here, so we're having him read way past 2 AM at night to improve said skill to level 3, the most he can get out of the skill book he brought with him. The next morning then begins with the harvest of some Renoir grapes. Afterwards then a disaster-free trip to the restroom, followed by placing 4 of those Renoir grapes together with 6 limes into the nectar maker. And so we can now watch as a rather smelly Fabien begins stomping grapes and limes, and then fires up the nectar maker once more, successfully on the first try this time. While it is working, Fabien spends a bit more time out in the Nectary's garden. The goal here is to get a decent amount of nice quality or better fruits, not necessarily for nectar making, but more so for planting them at home. The next batch of nectar is then soon finished. We'll name this the Coudeyras Lime Renoir, and apparently it is valuable enough to fulfill Fabien's wish of making nectar worth 20 simoleons. That is a big uptick compared to the 13 simoleons per bottle that the last batch was worth, and since this is already Fabien's last adventuring day, we will begin making the next batch right away. 5 apples and 5 Renoir grapes, with most of the ingredients also of nice quality. Now, quick disclaimer, I am using some combinations here that I already know are working well. Unfortunately, no matter the skill level, the game does not really give you a list of valuable recipes, so to get the really good stuff, nectar making is trial and error for the most part, and in order to keep this series somewhat manageable, I have decided to largely skip the error part. Now, while our third batch of nectar is being made, let's turn the second into Corentin, who immediately gives us, who could have seen this coming, a quest to make very nice nectar, so a further quality level higher. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure whether or not Fabien's skill level is actually enough to do this. All I can say is that the 50-50 Apple Renoir blend that we put into the nectar maker is a pretty decent combo. In fact, it is probably one of the best bang for your buck combinations in the game. As you can see, it is also done now, so let us name it the Coudeyras Apple Renoir. If you have any suggestions on how to handle nectar naming differently, then please let me know. Personally, I didn't feel like using the naming rights tier for this, just because it is such a tiny aspect of the game. Now, upon grabbing the nectar here, my fears are sadly confirmed. It is nice, but not very nice, and therefore sadly not enough to complete the quest. With the day already winding down, we most likely also don't have enough time left to try again, so instead let's work on fulfilling a very simple wish for Fabien. He wants to drink some nectar, and there are free samples available here in the Nectary. A few sips and the wish is fulfilled. To end Fabien's adventure to Champs-les-Sims, he will then leave the Nectary, and he will ride his scooter over to this building over by the river here, also known as the old abandoned Nectary. And on its hills there are still some grapevines growing, including 2 of the Meloir kind, and conveniently they are both ripe for the harvest, so we can take a few of them back home. With just a little bit of time left, I also spotted this small dig site nearby. Inside, once again, some more ancient coins, but also a relic worth a whopping 22 simoleons. The final find then, some gold, this worth a bit more, and with that we have just about timed it perfectly. The trip is over. Back at home, we can watch as William prepares an autumn salad to improve his cooking skill to level 2, Uni is still breaking boards and Sarnat is still on his evening run, and a short while later we can watch as William, Uni and Fabien all sit down to eat dinner, or in Fabien's case, to improve his nectar making skill. And with that, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut for today. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or get your name into the series by becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.